Why do your push-ups stop working exactly in the second week? The question seems simple until you look in the mirror and realize that something inside you has begun to fail. It's not just the body that resists. It's the shadow that grows when the initial euphoria dies. In the first few days, everything seems to work. The chest responds, the arms inflate, the breathing follows the rhythm of the will. But there is a moment, almost always silent, when the movement stops evolving and begins to repeat, itself like an empty echo. That's when many give up, not because it hurts, but because they don't understand what is dying within the technique. The second week is when the truth emerges. The fantasy of strength crumbles. The discipline you believed you possessed reveals cracks. And the hero you imagined yourself to be begins to stumble within your own routine. It's not weakness. It's not incapacity. It's the inevitable encounter with the limit you tried to ignore. The push-up that once rose, with firmness now trembles. The body feels heavy. The mind questions. The shadow whispers. And it is at this moment that the real question arises. What is really failing? The muscle or the identity you are trying to build? If you've ever felt that breaking point, that moment when the technique seems to break down, before you write just one word in the comments. It started here. You start by believing that strength comes quickly, that all you need to do is repeat things every day, accumulate sets and repetitions, and simply want it badly enough. In the first moments, this illusion is seductive. You feel your muscles respond, your skin stretch, your breathing quicken. It seems like your body has finally found a direction. It seems like discipline is in control. But what you feel isn't progress. It's novelty. The body reacts because everything is a new stimulus, not because you're getting stronger. And this difference is the first mistake. The initial euphoria creates a false image of progress. You see yourself training like a hero, pushing limits, getting into an unbreakable routine. It's beautiful, it's inspiring, but it's also dangerous, because behind that feeling lies a silent enemy, premature adaptation. The body adjusts too quickly, and what seemed like growth becomes just automatic repetition. The mind interprets it as victory, but the body understands it as stagnation. This is where illusion turns into a trap. You believe you're making progress, but in reality, you're just going around in circles. The sweat increases, the pain appears, but the strength doesn't change. And the more you try to compensate with brute force, the weaker the movement becomes. The technique falls apart. The posture drops. The breath is lost. It's the hero fighting in the shadows, unaware that he's attacking the wrong enemy. The truth is simple and brutal. The second week doesn't reveal your strength. It reveals your imbalance. It shows how quickly you leaned on a fantasy of progress. And when that fantasy crumbles, you realize that the discipline you imagined you possessed doesn't yet exist. It's only just beginning to be built. The illusion was merely the gateway. The real struggle begins afterward. If you are walking alongside this truth, leave a like. This keeps the journey alive. And if you want to continue evolving with me in the shadows, subscribe to the channel. A discipline continues. No one notices when it starts. It doesn't arrive with sharp pain, a crack, or a warning. The invisible problem is born in silence, in the small deviation you ignore, in the movement you unconsciously repeat, in the breath you hold for no reason. The push-up that was once firm begins to tremble, but you call it fatigue. Your shoulder closes a little more, but you call it effort. Your lower back curves without you noticing, but you call it progress. Of all the enemies of calisthenics, this is the most dangerous. The error that hides within the correct action. The body tries to warn you, but the warning isn't obvious. It appears as a micro-tension that you push aside, a slight instability that you pretend not to feel, a repetition that doesn't climb as straight as before. These are small, almost invisible signs, but they carry enormous weight, because from the moment the body adapts to a wrong pattern, it starts reinforcing that error as if it were the natural path. You begin to repeat the mistake, and repeating the mistake transforms the mistake into a habit. That's why your push-ups stop improving after the second week. It's not a lack of strength, It's not a lack of discipline, it's accumulated imbalance. It's the biomechanics getting lost while the mind insists everything is fine. The hero trains to the limit, but the limit also distorts the hero. His shadow grows where you least notice it. In the technical detail you never corrected. The mind wants to move forward, but the body freezes. And when it freezes, you push harder. And pushing harder only deepens the mistake. It's a silent, sneaky, almost cruel cycle. Strength disappears without you understanding why. Stability vanishes, progress dies, and you're stuck at the same point, believing it's a lack of ability, when in reality it's a lack of precision. The invisible problem is this: an enemy that you yourself feed, a villain that lives in the shadow of your actions, growing each time you pretend not to feel anything. If you've ever experienced this kind of silent stagnation, comments. I've felt that before. That's how we identify who is truly fighting. There comes a point in training when the body stops lying. It no longer hides the failure, no longer masks the imbalance, no longer disguises the loss of strength. It simply exposes the truth, and the truth hurts. Because up to that point, you believed the villain was in the tired muscles, the difficult repetitions, the weight of your own body. But when stagnation stares you down, you realize the enemy was never physical. It was mental. It always has been. This is where the turning point happens, the moon night moment. The moment you understand that you're not fighting against the exercise, you're fighting against your own shadow, against the rush to climb too fast, against the vanity of appearing strong before you actually are, against the pride that pushes you to continue with the wrong technique just to avoid admitting that you need to start over. It is in this internal fracture that the hero's discipline is born. True hero. Discipline doesn't appear on sunny days. It emerges in silence, when you realize your mind has sabotaged you more than your body. It arises when you accept looking at your mistake without averting your face, when you decide to correct what you avoided seeing, when you choose to unlearn before learning again. This turning point isn't epic. It doesn't have a soundtrack. It happens within the breath. In the exact second you go down for a push-up and finally feel, that you were doing everything automatically. And there, deep within that movement, reconstruction is born, not through force, but through awareness. This is the point where many give up, but it's also where the few who persevere begin to truly change. If this has ever happened to you, he comments, I've already faced my mistake. If this video is helping you understand your own journey, leave a like. This keeps the series alive for those who train alone in the dark. And if you want to walk with me on this journey of discipline and transformation, subscribe to the channel here. Every step is part of the struggle. True correction never begins with movement. It begins with honesty. Before adjusting posture, you need to adjust your gaze, because nobody evolves while trying to hide from themselves how they truly move. Technique isn't a detail. It's the fine line between building strength and creating an impending collapse. And when your push-ups stop working by the second week, it's not bad luck. It's not genetics. It's not lack of strength. It's lack of intention. When you descend too quickly, you lose stability. When you ascend without control, you lose power. When you let your hips drop, you lose alignment. And each small deviation from the pattern robs the repetition of its true function. The body learns what you repeat, and if you repeat it incorrectly, it adapts to the error with the same dedication with which it would adapt to excellence. That's why many people stop performing early. They are refining a movement that was born crooked. The real correction begins with the rhythm. Push-ups aren't a race, they're a dialogue. You go down listening to the weight, you go up responding to the effort. Breathing guides the cadence, and the cadence sustains the strength. When you take control of this timing, the movement stops crushing you and starts obeying you. The second key is activation. Chest, shoulder blades, abdomen, glutes. If one of these parts sleeps, the rest carries. The burden alone and fails. The third key is intelligent switching. Days of technique, days of volume, days of active rest, days of complete rest. The hero who trains the same way every day isn't being disciplined. He's being reckless. Discipline isn't blind repetition. It's conscious repetition. That's how the body understands that it doesn't need to survive the workout. It needs to evolve through it. And when these corrections align, intention, rhythm, activation, and alternation, something silent happens. The push-up ceases to be just an exercise and becomes a tool, a way to rewrite who you are when you face the ground, when you face the limit, when you face your own shadow. If any technical correction has already transformed your workout, comment, "I adjusted my movement." Transformation never arrives with fanfare. It doesn't appear in the mirror overnight. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't ask for applause. It emerges in silence. In that instant, when you realize something has changed, but you don't know exactly when. It's the moment when the body, previously hesitant, begins to respond with precision. The repetition that once trembled now finds a stable path. The breath, once disordered, finds depth. The movement, once heavy, finds intention. It's as if a new consciousness arises between muscle and mind, revealing that the strength was not in the explosion, but in the control. This is the territory few reach, not because they lack potential, but because they lack the patience to traverse the shadows. Most give up before hearing the first real response from the body. But when you persevere, when you repeat attentively, when you correct with humility, when you embrace the pain as part of the process, something awakens. Technique ceases to be theory and becomes identity. Discipline ceases to be obligation and becomes nature. Flexion ceases to be movement and becomes language. True transformation doesn't happen when your arm extends. It happens when your character expands. When you realize you're training for much more than physical strength. You're training to become someone capable of enduring your own limits without breaking. Someone capable of seeing inner chaos without retreating. Someone capable of persevering even when your body begs you to stop. And it is at this point, this exact point, that hero discipline is born. Not in visible sweat, but in invisible effort. Not in public victory, but in the silent war that only you witness. It is here that the hero rebuilds himself, slowly, deeply, without witnesses. If this passage resonated with you, if this journey makes sense to you, leave a like, not for me, but to keep this vigil alive. If you want to walk with me through the next chapters of this discipline, subscribe to the channel. Here, each video is a new battle. And before continuing, just comment. I continue the transformation. I want to know who truly walks through the shadows with me. In the end, when the external voices fall silent and breathing becomes the only possible sound, there is a rare moment when you finally understand why so many people give up before achieving any real change. Calisthenics, when practiced consistently, reveals more about the soul than the body. It demands honesty, exposure, and direct confrontation with the flaws you've tried to hide for years. And it is precisely in this fragile territory that transformation takes root, because it's not strength that defines a hero. It's the willingness to persevere, even when nothing seems to work. Week 2 is always the invisible limit. The body protests, the mind sabotages, motivation evaporates. The initial fantasy shatters, and for a moment everything seems pointless. But it is there that the truth is formed, silent, discreet, almost imperceptible. Real strength is not born from the result. It is born from continuity. Discipline is not proven in the perfect movement, but in the imperfect movement repeated with intention. And while many believe that evolving is about increasing numbers, more repetitions, more sets, more intensity, the body knows the truth. Evolution happens on the margins, where you correct what is crooked, breathe where you once held your breath, sustain where you once collapsed. Progression is not linear. It is a continuous spiral between failure and adjustment, between limit and vigilance, between shadow and identity. There's a raw beauty in this process, a beauty that doesn't make a sound, that doesn't appear in transformation videos, that doesn't fit into before and after comparisons. It's a beauty that only those who persevere can see, because by going through this silent phase, you discover that you're training for something bigger than defined muscles. You're training to build a version of yourself capable of enduring your own history without running away from it. A version that doesn't fear repetition, that doesn't avoid discomfort, that doesn't hide from its own shadow. And so, little by little, the question that once guided you, why did my push-ups stop working, transforms into another. Who do I need to become to keep going? That's the real answer. Not technical, not physical, but existential. It is here, at this point of silent depth, that the journey ceases to be an exercise, and it becomes identity. In the silence that remains after the fight, there is always a choice, to continue or to retreat to the old version of yourself. If you've made it this far, perhaps you already know that no hero is born in the light. They are forged in the shadows, in unseen training, in limits no one celebrates. Therefore, if something in this chapter resonated with you, leave your mark before moving on. Write in the comments. I continue the vigil. It's a simple way of saying that you're not just watching. You're walking alongside those who are also fighting. If you want to stay on this journey of discipline, new beginnings, and silent rebuilding, subscribe. Not as an automatics gesture, but as a decision to walk together through chapters that haven't yet been written. And if this video caught your eye on a difficult day, leave a like just so that this vigil remains lit and reaches those who train alone in the dark. There's a chapter of this struggle waiting for you right next door. If you want to follow along, just scroll forward.